Hi guys, I'm back to review lessons 3, 4, and 5 on page 30. So let me get this set up, sorry. Okay, I'm trying to hold this camera phone around my neck. So sorry, it's not really ideal, but okay, we're gonna start with the letter, practicing the D, which is the initial D over here. So we'll do that and then read that back real quick. So D, 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 home, 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 D, 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 home. Final D over here with your little finger. D, 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 home, D, 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 home, D, 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 home, D, 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 home, D, 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 home. Okay, let's just quickly scroll back so you can see real quick. So the difference in the way it looks. Initial D, final D. Okay, now I'm going to go back. We're going to do the short E and the long E. Short E, home, 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 home. And now the long E. And remember, it's all kind of leaning to the left because it's the 3 on the left. E, home, 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 home. Okay, so just scroll back real quick. Just make sure you know the difference in what it looks like. Short E, long E. We'll just get familiar with that so you see it and you know exactly what you're looking at. That's a long E. Okay, and then we're going to do a drill with mixing that up a little bit. So we're going to do the long E and the long A. So E, A, home. E, home. E, home. E, home. A, home. A, home. Okay, again. E, home. A, home. A, home. E, home. A, home. A, home. Okay, sorry if that is blurry. So I'm gonna go back, whoops, scroll, gonna go back up. I'm just gonna pick one. Let's start here. E, A, E, A, E, A, E. So then I'm gonna let you guys read it back to yourself. So on your own notes, or I'll scroll down where you see the black, try to read that out loud. Go. Okay, that's a good one to keep practicing. And then let me do, let's see, we're gonna do B, E, B. So B, E, B, and then put those together, beb. And we're gonna do, just write that 10 times, beb. Beb, 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 beb. Okay, I'm gonna turn the page, if I can. And I'm gonna give you, it's on page 31. I'm going to dictate these words to you. You're going to practice the long E, the short A, the long A, all the stuff we've learned. Okay, ready? Beb, beeb, bad, bade, bed, bead, dab, dabe, dead, deed, dade, deeba, dad. Okay. We're going to do the numbers, and you're going to keep going back to home. 5, 5, sorry, that was hard. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Now, 55, 55, 55, 55. Okay, now it's time to read back. I'm going to scroll back up until I can find one of the bebs. Here we go. Okay, let's read this back. Beb, beeb, bad, bade, bed, bead, dab, dabe, dead, deed, dade, deeb, dad. So that would be good to go over on your own notes and practice that until you are really familiar with hearing it and writing it and reading it as well. Okay, so that's the end of this video that reviews up through lesson 5.